You know, I think it's safe to say that when this figure first dropped, initially, I thought this thing was just a one-off gimmick. You know, Playmates would just make this crazy figure, and we wouldn't really think much of it. Then the new Empire releases, and Kong gets a Beast Club. Why do I feel like 2 movies from now, Kong's literally going to be like this? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew, and today we're going to be reviewing the Playmates Toys Titan Tech Kong. Yes, so this is going to be based on, loosely based on, the MonsterVerse Kong and his appearance in Godzilla vs. Kong, except he's going to be quite a bit different. This is supposed to be a more transformic gimmick type toy where Playmates decided to give him a whole bunch of gadgets and tech and such to really amp up his game within the MonsterVerse. And yeah, he'll have like a ton of armor and such. But as it stands, we're going to take a look at the base figure and his transformation version as a whole. So with that said, again, this has to be one of the most stupidest figures, I'm just going to say right off the bat, that I own. It is hella funny to look at, but is also very interesting in a lot of ways. But that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the figure. So we're going to save the transformation for later, but for the actual accessory, because Kong does come with an accessory, we have this very stylized battle axe, which is not going to be based on the actual axe we see in the movie because it was just mainly a bone with Godzilla scales attached to a Godzilla dorsal plate as the blade. Here is, I don't even know what it is really. Like, this doesn't even look like something from Godzilla or King Kong. This is something that whatever Playmates designer was on drugs that day just pitched this to Legendary, just like, hey, you want to do this, and showed him a sketch and play. And then Legendary is just like, well, whatever way we can do another Kong axe, let's do it. And then boom, they gave this the green light for mass production, and then the rest is history. But yeah, on this very Thor-esque looking blade, we have a handle comprised of blue paint. Mine's got a bit of chippage, probably from me, although that is actually kind of a lined chip. Interesting. Anyways, yeah, we have like this part of it, which is probably going to be like where the bottom part of you put your hand in. And this entire bottom part is going to be blue. We have like this blue appendage here. And then we have the actual handle itself, which is going to be primarily dark brown, almost like the actual color of the body. Like, that is basically the same color. And then we have the blade itself, which is not going to be all that pointy. So I don't exactly understand how this would actually do any damage. But it does have a lot of blue highlights here, with a lot of like different blue patterns. Almost like this part should be glowing. I would have loved to see something like this on the big screen. Not literally in a Godzilla or Kong film, but maybe as like a weapon in a superhero film. I mean, hey, the DC verse is back in full swing with Superman, and we are getting more Marvel films. So, hey. Although this design might be trademarked now, so there's that. So yeah, it's going to be mainly a flexible rubber. We have this little nub. We're going to talk about that nub. But there's actually multiple ways you can actually put this on Kong. So you're going to take his right hand, and you're going to notice that he's going to grip it. Now you might say, oh, well, I'm just going to pry open the fingers. This is entirely made of hard plastic. There's no flexing this whatsoever. So my personal suggestion is take it like this, because it is a bit narrow on the brown side. So squeeze it in between his fingers and his thumb. Although it's a big debate if the thumb is a finger. And then you want to slide it in. And then as you're doing it, you rotate it left, like that. And boom, your Kong is now holding the axe. It's a bit of a secure grip. I mean, it does kind of jostle around in there. But he won't be letting go of this axe anytime soon. Another way you can put it in, and this kind of adds back to the like the transformation gimmick, is that on his back side, you're going to see this big back panel. Right here is a peg hole. And you're going to see this peg, yeah, that little nub we talked about earlier. You can actually peg in to Kong's backside. And it actually does stay in there pretty decently. And you can get it to rotate a little bit. So from the front, you can have it like exposed, maybe like a bit like this. Or, let's see, can this work? Can you flip it upside down? Yes, you can. So if you want it like this, hey, you're all good to go. Also, because of all the screw holes on this guy, try not to pop it off, you can actually peg this into some of the screw holes too. It doesn't work for all of them because there is like a screw hole on the butt, and I mean, I'm basically trying to stick an axe up Kong's, well, you know what, but effectively any of these screw holes on like the shoulders, you can actually kind of fit it in and it'll work. But primarily it's supposed to go on this. But yeah, for the axe itself, I'm gonna say, though it is crazy stupid, throwing all logic out the window, unknown origins, we don't know where this Kong got this axe from, this must have been one hell of a Zilla. I'm gonna say it's very flexible, so you're not gonna break it. It's a bit prone to paint chippage, so I wish it was sealed off a little bit better. But the axe connection is great, and you do have a bit of display options by putting this guy on Kong's back. So I'm gonna say 8 out of 10. Honestly, this is actually a pretty cool axe. Again, not something I'd want in a Godzilla or Kong film, but for a dumb, fun kid's toy, yeah, this actually works pretty well. And of course, we get to the Kong figure at hand. And might I say, off the bat, you're gonna notice something pretty odd. His proportions. Now, of course, this is to make way for all the tech and stuff that's inside the figure, but for the actual design here, I will say this Kong could have been a whole lot worse, but it is still pretty damn goofy. So for the head mold, the eyes are going to be painted standardly orange with black pupils, nothing to really write home about. They are applied pretty well, at least. They've got the center down pretty nicely. Detail is a bit on the more mellow side this time around because of the hard plastic used. The fur here is going to be a bit detailed, more so. The face, going to like the skin, fleshy parts. The eyebrow looks pretty nice. The nose looks pretty decently detailed. And the teeth, you have the tongue painted, the teeth detailed. It's pretty much what you expect from Playmates. Although it's kind of weird is that he has like bottom buck teeth, which, I don't know. Also, what the hell is this facial expression? Come on, couldn't you at least make him a little bit more mad, like bend down the eyebrows and give him like a bit of a snarl? This just looks goofy. His side profile, he doesn't have a neck. He clearly doesn't know how to mog. His beard is pretty much infused with his chest, which again, I can understand given the gimmicks, but he has just this very big, broad set of shoulders as well, because like it goes immediately down midway through his head, which by the way, there's the ears. Just want to kind of cover that. There you go. Pretty well sculpted, by the way. There is a bit of a color difference. This is just like a darker grayish brown. This is more like a brown with like a green hue. So there is going to be a bit of a color difference, but for the pecs, smoothing out details with the okayly painted scars. They're nothing like too bad or anything like that. We have the belly button and of course some hinges there with some more fur details down there. A bit more softened than usual. Broad shoulders again. We have the shoulders, which are going to be covered in seam line after seam line, again, to make way for the hinges and all the gimmick stuff. We have all of this, like, actually decent detail for a Playmates figure. This part's kind of smoothened over, but for the fists, it's all the fur detail, especially, like, on the elbow area. There's not too much, like, detail here, but there is stuff to at least talk about or mention. This one's got, like, the clenched fist. Little white marking. Don't think I've ever noticed that before. But we do have a bit of like fist action, so you can go to your Godzilla or something. This arm is a bit more exposed, so you can see inside the hand, although there's nothing really there. Kind of wish there was some paint for the wrists, honestly, because even like the smaller Kongs around the time they released this did have paint, so why not this one? So that is a bit of a bummer. The back side is going to be primarily smoothed over, but we do have some detail work with the fur, a bit like ragged up fur and such. It does look pretty decent overall, things considered. Again, we have like mainly the fur kind of condensed towards the center where you get like the groove and indents there. Of course, is the monkey booty cheeks going into the legs. very chunkier legs on a Kong figure, proportionally speaking. But Kong never had the biggest legs, so it's kind of like a make or break situation when it comes to the legs anyway. We do have a lot of nice smooth detail, more towards the front. The back side's a bit more, well, the sides specifically here are a bit more smoothed out, but the back here, again, we kind of get like a little increase of detail work. It's nothing like overly complex. We have some screw holes, of course. I know some people are not going to like them. Personally, I don't mind screw holes. I've said this time again, but I'm going to say it anyway. I grew up with toys with screw holes, so I don't really mind screw holes on my toys. In fact, I've always like considered that a standard. So probably when I found out toys didn't have screw holes, some of them at least, I was just like, how is this possible? This defies all logic in my brain. Anyway, fur detail going down to the feet. We actually have some pretty decently detailed feet. Mine's a bit dusty because of how long I've had this for. A few years, actually. Copyright info. Let's go here. MonsterVerse, trademark, copyright 2022. Legendary, all rights preserved. Let's go here. Playmates, address. So I guess I just doxed Playmates. Okay. I'm just joking. It's public information. I think that's just their headquarters anyway. So yeah, kind of one more look at the fur detail. Let's... So here's the back side, side view, front view, aerial shot, down shot, back shot, giggity, and the side shot here. Anyway, so for the actual sculpt and paint on the base Kong figure, it's nothing really spectacular. It's definitely one of those really stupid looking figures with how weirdly proportioned it is, because you have Kong's overly exaggerated arms, the shoulders which are really more broad than they should be, and the more chunkied out legs with the face that honestly looks like they just chopped his neck off and then tried to replant his head without the neck, and it just looks really, it almost looks like a Kong mixed in with the Hulk Buster. You know what I'm talking about? That's basically what this figure is. So as far as the mold is concerned, I mean, detail-wise, it's okay. It gets the job done. It's nothing spectacular, but I just can't help but at least laugh at the design of this thing. I'm going to say 7 out of 10 as far as like, let's bump that out to a 0.5. Nothing too spectacular. 7.5 I feel like is fair given the design. And I do understand why it's like this. And, given the price point, it should be worth knowing that. And of course, for articulation, for the head, there's nothing here. And we're going to be primarily talking about the articulation, not the gimmick. So shoulders, we can hit on swivel hinge, so we can go up about that far and down about that far. Can rotate full 360 degrees. Nothing at the bicep, shoulders, elbows, or wrists, which I kind of find a little disappointing because I felt like they could have cut something maybe in here to like give it a bit of an extra bend or something. Nothing at the waist, but raising up the shoulders, we can get a bit of a kick. So we can go up about that far, backwards about that far because of the booty. And then they're actually on a swivel hinge this way. So you can go up about that far, but the hinge here does kind of get in the way of that. So you shimmy it a little off to the side. You basically can get Kong doing like the reverse splits here. And then you can get Kong kind of like leaping up in the air like that. And you can get a bit of a rotation like that. And as for the feet, they can go a full 360 degrees. So for his posability in his base form, he doesn't really have a whole lot of it. He really only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points compared to like the standard 6-inch Kong is featuring like a boatload of articulation, which I don't know why they always save it for Kong. Come on, give Godzilla something. But that said, I will save articulation. Maybe they could have included something like at the elbows or something. But again, given of all the gimmicks that are inside this thing, it's understandable why. I'm going to say 6.5 just because I feel like, again, articulation was never its strong suit, but I'm happy to have it anyway. And now comes the part that you probably been waiting for, the actual transformation. So there's a bit of things to go over, but this is the way I like to do it. Maybe this is the official way. I haven't seen the instructional video from Playmates in a while. So you're going to unclip this. Make sure it's all the way down here. Next, you're going to lightly pry these open like this, and it should look like this. Next, you're going to want to take Kong's head, shove it downward like this until you hear a click, and then rotate it 180. Then your Kong should be wearing this. We'll talk about the looks later. Unflip this part and unflip this. Close everything back up, including this back panel, like that. And you're gonna see this little like antenna. Dig your finger in there and kind of like unhinge that from the figure within. So it should look something like this. Okay, now we're on the right track. Take the bicep, pull it like that so you can see a metal extension. Do that on both sides. All right, pretty damn sweet. Next, you're going to flip this up so it looks like this. Turn it around, flip it like that, and flip it like that so you can see some like tube work and some extra screws. This is not painted. That is. Where's the consistency here, Playmates? But yes, it should look something like this. Rinse and repeat on the other side. So dig it in like this. Go like this. And like this. So there it is. And for the legs, last part, flip this out. Flip that in. Flip this out. And flip this out. Just dig my finger in there. And rinse and repeat for the opposite end. Just like so. If you have to move around the figure a bit, do so carefully because you do not want to break this. Okay, my nail is failing me already. I don't know what's the problem here. There we go. That is much better. And there you have it. And bada bing, bada boom, your Kong is officially Titan Tech Kong. And automatically, this thing is so stupid, I love it. Yes, your eyes are not mistakening. He's wearing sunglasses and a microphone. Plus has like these weird antenna things, which I wouldn't say are wings, but almost look like the beginning of like wings. And then he's got like all this weird like opening up panel stuff. Again, there's logic to be questioned, but it's a figure that kind of gives the middle finger to logic. Because organically, none of this would make sense on the MonsterVerse Kong, because we're literally talking about literal compartments that replace the tendons, muscles, bone fibers, etc. of the Kong in order to make this work. We have skin dug into it, which reveals more fur, plus like tubing and such there, and then we have like metal armor. Essentially, this is a mechanic Kong, which is funny because mechanic Kong is, I think, of Universal property. I could be wrong about that. But to actually give you guys a better look at the extensions here, for the sunglasses, they're going to be basically painted and sculpted. Basically just a big line with a bit of a divot over the eyes, just kind of representing sunglasses. And then, of course, we have the headsets here with a literal mic. Like, why else would it be looping down to Kong's face like that? But everything is sculpted onto the figure, so don't expect it to be taken off. Then we have this big silver gold lining with the Monarch label to act as like armor. Again, like, it's very questionable how this is really classified as armor when Kong is still pretty much naked. Like, there's a lot of spots on him that really would need like extra parts. Anyway, we have these little flaps which I'm just going to refer to as wings. I don't really think they're wings, but what am I supposed to call these? Like, really, what am I supposed to call them? We have again some more gold and silver details here. There's the back side, a bit more simplistic. You know what it kind of looks like? something from like the 1993 Mechagodzilla. And then we have like the little black antenna there, which for some reason only one side has. You'd think both sides would have them. Here we have the metal bicep with all the mechanical lining, arrows as well. The tube work as well as the metallic paint. Both sides minus this part. And of course this little compartment, which again, like what's the purpose of this? Again, logic is thrown down the window. You just see this figure, think it looks cool, don't ask questions. For the leg compartments, more gold and silver plating, as well as like right here. Some more silver lining, compartment after compartment. And of course we have these, this like little key thing. Like it almost looks like at one point this was supposed to like actually pull on something and reveal it. Or something. Again, there's clearly some sort of intention behind it, but like I made mention, it's just something that you just look at and think it's cool. If I did have any complaints with it, like aside from how ridiculous it looks, I think that's honestly a cool thing. What I don't really like is the lack thereof, say, body armor on the backside, because the backside clearly got like the mistreatment, you know. I feel like maybe the back of the legs could have featured some, or the back of the arms, maybe the back in general. Maybe this entire back flap could have opened to reveal something else, you know. Have it like fold out and then you close this and then this would like overlap, like this hypothetical back armor plating or something like that. But that's really my only kind of like major gripe with it, which also just to say, yes, the battle axe still works. I don't know why it wouldn't, but there you go. And boy, does it look like he's ready for action. This would provide like hours of fun, huh? But yes, essentially this is the figure itself. I will like to make mention that if you do have the axe like up here like this and the figure like fully transforms, there is a possibility of him going like a bit top heavy or wobbling a little bit, as I'm demonstrating here. Okay, I thought he was actually gonna fall, but yeah, it does kind of get a little top heavy, so, or front heavy, whatever what the term is. So as for the actual gimmick, I think the gimmick is fun. It's fun to really transform him back and forth between that and this. But as far as the actual execution of it, I would say it's nearly good. Or it is good, but it's nearly as good as it could be. I would say the only thing that's missing is back plating, so I'm going to say 8 out of 10 for the gimmick as well. And for a brief size comparison, here he is with the Titan Tech Godzilla, and both of them are fully transformed. Now, I'm probably going to, I would save this for the Godzilla review, because that's planned next. But as for which Titan figure I personally think got the better treatment, as far as like actual armor goes, Godzilla definitely has the advantage here, because there's actually portions of him that would actually be protecting his vital areas. Like you have these parts would be protecting his gills, and of course you have these parts would be protecting his dorsal plates. You know, the very thing that helps him get energized. Seems like a pretty important thing. While this Kong here, aside from that chest plate, nothing really protects him. That's not really armor. That's just gear and funky stuff. And also, Godzilla seems to have more amount of weapons on him. Like, he has, like missile fire. He has like these knives here, like a switchblade on one side and a switchblade literally right on this tail. So it really seems like Godzilla's more locked and loaded, ready for like projectile combat, while Kong seems more like a close quarters combat fighter. But that said, I think overall, it's tough to choose because, again, it seems like Godzilla's trying to be more of a ranged fighter here. Kong is more of a close quarters combat fighter. So yeah, I can't really decide between which one got the better treatment. But yes, as for Rodan, because that's the only other Titan Tech figure I'm missing, I don't know if I'll ever get him, because Playmates did put out a Titan Tech Rodan. It was available for like a little bit amount of time, and then once it was sold out, they never really restocked him again, and I haven't seen him since. I'm gonna try and get a hold of him just because like of the trilogy of figures we have here. That's like the one I'm missing. But really, prices are going up, and the exclusivity is very, very limited. I don't know. Playmates' release format is really confusing to me, but here we go. The, for now, full line of Titan Tech figures. And here he is with the Godzilla vs. Kong battle axe and fighter jets. And let me just say, it's kind of clear which one of these two has the better axe. And here he is compared to the of equal size NECA King Kong figure. And it's kind of funny because even though they're completely different toy brands, they fit pretty well as far as like the actual height of these things go. Granted, NECA is an adult collectible while Playmates is a kid's toy, but they surprisingly go not well together, but like scale-wise go perfectly together. So for the Playmates Toys Terminator Kong, this thing is honestly pretty stupid. This thing is so dumb. It's a lot of fun though. I feel like if you're into those crazy, outlandish figures that companies would probably never prove, but yet here we are anyway, this isn't a bad way to go. In fact, it fits the bill perfectly. It has such a dumb gimmick. Its look, even in base, looks absolutely stupid. But it's so bad it's good. You know, it might not even be bad. It just looks dumb. You know, it's definitely corny fun. It's almost like the New Empire itself, even though this isn't technically, so to speak, the New Empire figure, because this figure predates the New Empire figure movie by 2 years. It's almost like the movie itself. So bad, it's good. But if you were to judge it on a fundamental quality level thing, yeah, it kind of is a bit lackluster, but I'm not going to fault it for that. That said, I again recommend this if you like that type of figure, but for my personal rating, for my final rating, I'm going to rate it a 7.5 out of 10. That said, next time we're going to be taking a look at Godzilla. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone. And before I forget, that's right, the lights are back. Peace out, everyone.